It's Monday, April 28th, 2025. Gonna be going over an AUDUSD trade that I took kind of late in the day. I was really looking forward to trading it earlier, but I was stuck at work, so I ended up getting into a second entry here. I'm just gonna go over everything the way I have it, just to make it a quick little um, informational video on the trade that we took today. It was a buy that was placed at around 11 o'clock or so. Uh, gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna leave everything already marked up just for the sake of the length of the video. So I had the highs and lows already marked, high of day, low of day, and then previous high of day and previous low of day already marked. Gonna be going into the weekly, and we'll see what we got here. We got a lot of stuff marked up already, but um, we did catch the sell last week when it tapped this weekly supply. Although it is a giant weekly supply, so I necessarily wouldn't count it again after it tapped already. We took the sell last week, so I wasn't really counting it as a valid supply anymore. It already used it, so we're looking forward to price getting up to this H1. So we can see that price is still currently bullish. Seems like it wants to find supply. It's finding demand and ending up finding supply. So nothing here on the daily as far as it bouncing off demand. Still looks like it's trying to find supply. The next target area that we have marked is the H1. It is finding demand on the lower time frames to get to this higher time frame supply. Let's go down to the 4 hour. And let me turn off the session based indicators. And then we'll start analyzing, seeing what we got. So we have confirmed that on the higher time frames, price is trying to find supply. It necessarily hasn't really bounced off of any daily or weekly demand, but as we can see here, there is this 4 hour that price ends up using nighttime 1 a.m. Eastern time, Monday when market had opened. So it tapped off this H4. So we can go ahead and mark that up as our H4 demand. So we can clearly see that now it's starting to tie in where price is actually going. We're jumping off of demand to find supply. There's real no H4 supply that price is working with, seeing as how this one was used here already and price gave a little distribution to the downside. So it found supply here after coming off of this supply. This supply, price ended up coming here, came back, used this supply candle, left behind this supply candle after this big distribution. Price tapped it and used it, came back to demand down here, this H4, and now there's real no H4 supply for price to get to. So it is looking to get to this H1 at some point. Then we'll go down to the 1 hour and we'll see what we got. All right, so I was hoping for price to get above this 1 hour supply, this previous contrary candle before this big push. But this big push brought us into the H4, which then led me to believe that price was going to give a bullish move. I was looking for price to close above this H1 to confirm that we are buying above this area. And then we'll go into the M15 and we'll see what we got going on here. All right. And this is what we're presented with in the morning at about 8:15, 8:30. So I was still waiting for price to come above this area. I did take note of an H1 that was here just to have it there, because it was the H1 previous contrary candle after this big push. There's nothing on the 4 hour. M15, we could also mark this M15, but since we have the H1 right above it, it's a higher time frame, so I just left the H1. I didn't mark up the M15, but it is a possible valid area of interest or demand that could be taken note of. And then as price continued, I waited for that break. And we'll see here, price ends up breaking when New York session begins. Then we've got this large distribution candle. Let me go down to the 5 minute. Um, okay, so the original trade that would have been taken in the morning, I didn't take, seeing as how price came up and started closing above this area. Technically, there was this 5 minute demand here, and then on the 1 minute, there was a shift of structure here. We had this 5 minute demand, it seemed like it was respecting, and then you got the shift of structure here where price ends up breaking, and then that is your entry confirmation. I would have marked up the M1 and then the M5. As soon as you see that price shift structure on the 1 minute, you also go to the 5 minute and you mark up the M5, and you'll see that it doesn't necessarily look like it actually came back to this area on the M5, but on the M1 it does. I'll replay it so it's a little cleaner so you can see. So as soon as price did this, shifted structure, I went to the 5 minute. I marked up my 1 minute already. I marked up my 5 minute, and this would be my entry. So although price is very close to it, you wanna pick the time frame that's higher. And seeing as how my stop loss would cover both, I was more than comfortable with taking this trade. But this isn't even the trade that I would have taken, considering I didn't take it. I did take the one that presented itself later on in session, but this would have been it with the stop loss and everything. With little 1 to 2. And then I'm gonna show you the trade I actually took that was a little later in session, where price gave this move here. See that price ends up giving a large move to the upside, and I saw that price was doing a continuation move. And I did notice this. There was an M5 previous high of day and an M15 all in confluence along with an M1, and that was more than enough confirmation for me, especially seeing that price had already reacted off of this high of day and ended up pushing past it again. I was more than comfortable with taking this trade, even though it was a little later in the day and not necessarily the original move that I would have liked to take in. Still a very solid move considering I had all of these confluences. Because it was such an A plus setup, I ended up taking it on the account, and we'll see how it goes. Price ends up coming back, I believe almost around 11:30 or so. Price ends up activating our order and draw down for a little bit, and then we were teetering around this area for a while. I'll go into the 5 minutes so it's a little faster. There we were in that range for a little bit and then hit a 1 to 2. All with just knowing the market direction. You do want to wait for like a nice clean break to determine which side you're going to be on, whether it's buying or selling. And had this price ended up continuing down, you would then need an M1 confirmation off of an M5 supply that was left behind. But you, even had it come down, I probably would have waited to see what this H1 would have done. But this was the trade here. Nice little 1 to 2. Price ended up playing out for about a 1 to 5 or so. And that's the trade.